Hi, I'm Katie Barr, and this is BocaMatters. We're here today with Commissioner Steve Engle. Steve is running for re-election to the Board of Commissioners for the Greater Beach and Park District. Hey, Steve, really good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
You too, Katie. Thanks very much for the opportunity to talk to you and to all the Boca First followers. Much appreciated.
We're happy to have you. So, Steve, you've served on the board for approximately 7 years. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do you see your longevity as an advantage going forward in making board decisions?
Yes, I do. Longevity is a two-edged sword. There are people that have served for 20 years in a particular office or more and have been effective each and every day they've been in office. And there are people that, after 60 days, that they need to find another day job. I like to think that I've been effective since day one, and that I will continue to be effective. I have every confidence that as I go on, that I will be even more effective with each passing day.
Is there anything in particular that the board agenda is reviewing right now that you think is especially important?
Well, there's a bunch of things. We have our 2020-21 fiscal year coming up, and we have a budget that we have to put together. And I can say, I'm going to give you a sneak preview, that we're looking at keeping the rollback rate. We're managing our expenses very well. We're getting all the things done that we need to get done. We have money set aside for our most important projects. And going forward, we also have to look at capital projects that we have coming up. We have the golf course coming up. We intend to be able to do that on our own, though city help would be nice, but if they're unable, we understand, and we're willing to go it alone, and we don't expect to have to increase the millage rate as a result.
Oh, that's great. Well, since you've been on the board for so long, what votes are you particularly proud of, or that you feel were good for the community?
Well, one of the most recent ones, the Ocean Strand vote, where we, as a body, decided unanimously to open up Ocean Strand as a park. We just recently put out the request for proposals, and this one is a little different. Normally, you put out a request for a proposal, you get an architect, a consultant, and then they go and hire a contractor. This we did as what we call a design build. So whoever is designing it is the person that's going to be building it, and it's all going to happen all at one time. And we expect this will cut at least a month off the construction time, or the whole process actually. And with any kind of luck, if the weather cooperates and the gods smile upon us, we should have this done, I'm hoping, by the beginning of November.
Oh boy, that's fabulous. Do you find that, with all the meetings that you've held and been at, are residents becoming more vocal or chiming in more?
Well, I can tell you that in my first term, my first budget hearing, I think we had 2 people in the audience. The last series of budget hearings, we had to open up Willow Theater and hold the budget meetings there, and we were standing room only.
Gosh.
we're not flying under the radar anymore. Everybody knows about us. Everybody is interested in what we're doing, and I think that's a great thing. The more
Yeah.
community involvement, the better.
Yes. Um, you know, some people are concerned, that the future of Ocean Strand, which we just spoke about, might be in jeopardy. Do you think that's ever going to be a possibility?
I like to think it will never be in jeopardy, but when you look at the property itself, it's very enticing.
Right.
And I'm sure there are people, well, I know for a fact there are people that would love to buy it, put up a hotel and a condo and a marina and make traffic on A1A a veritable nightmare all year round, and destroy one of the most beautiful pieces of property in the Beach and Park District inventory. The one good thing that has happened recently, we just got notification from the State Attorney General's office that our enabling legislation prohibits us from conveying any of our properties. We cannot sell it, we cannot lease it. So what does that mean? That means that I don't have to worry about this being an OMDB issue. In other words, over my dead body. It's not to say that future boards might say, well, all right, it's nice, we can pick up $60-70 million by selling this property or another property and petition the state to change the enabling legislation. But for my part, as long as I sit on that board, there will be no opportunity for developers to take that property out of our inventory, to acquire it in any way, shape, manner, or form. Ocean Strand is for the residents of the Beach and Park District and for anybody who wants to visit. Plain and simple. It's not for developers. It's not for a condo. It's not for a hotel. It's not for a marina.
So the Beach and Park District, as we know, it's not just the ocean. It does extend a little bit further west. Is there an area out there that you'd like to see the department acquire?
Yes, that's kind of, when I was in the Army, when you came in, they gave you what was called a dream sheet. In other words, what would you really like to do? What would you really like to have? And they would look at it, laugh very hard, throw it out, and they put you where they wanted to. In any event, I have a dream sheet, a bucket list, if you will. Among the items on there is the possible acquisition of the old Meisner Trails golf course. I don't know, Compson had it up for sale. I was told it was under contract to somebody. I don't know what the disposition is, but I would like to see it as a Beach and Park District property outside the city and inside the limits of the Beach and Park District, the old reserve area. There are no Beach and Park District properties. This would be the first. But the beauty of it is it's adjacent to Sugar Sand. It's right across Military Trail. And in New York, in Queens County, where I grew up, we had a park corridor starting at the Nassau County line, running all the way to the Kings County line. And for those of you who aren't familiar, that is, Queens County is one of the 5 boroughs. And I envision the same thing. It would have to be a public-private partnership because it's beyond the resources of the Beach and Park District to acquire that property on our own. We would need help from possibly the county, possibly from private interests, but I think it would be great to add it on as a corridor, if you will, to provide walking paths. It would be a great passive park. The features are such that it winds in and out, and having it as a property where people could picnic or walk around would be great, and would be a minimum of interference with the neighborhood at large. I'd also like to see, there's a small park, a not very beautiful piece of property that is owned by the Boca Del Mar Home Improvement Association called Parque Placido. And again, as a partner, as a public-private partnership, I think this would fit in very well. It's not something that I want to take away from the Improvement Association. I would like to collaborate with the Improvement Association in making this a part of the Beach and Park District.
Hmm. Well, speaking of collaboration, there's a perception among some residents that there's like some conflict between conversations with the city and conversations with Beach and Park as far as making progress. What do you say as far as that?
Well, to be perfectly honest, there have been some moments where it hasn't been all warm and fuzzy. And as in any relationship, it's not all their fault. It's not all our fault. It's a combination of circumstance, different agendas. But be that as it may, what I want to do going forward, and this is something that, quite honestly, we all should be doing on the Beach and Park District and City Council, is before we promote our own point of view and our own agenda, look at the other side and try to understand why their point of view is what it is. I think that will go a long way in getting both sides together. I think the desire to work together is definitely there. It's just a question of getting past our own issues and doing it.
Right, right. Well, that's good news. Well, switching gears a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about your own personal work experience and how that benefits your decision making on the board?
Well, almost ever since I started working, I've been involved in sales and marketing of some kind. I think it makes me a better listener. And when you're in sales and marketing, you have to listen. You can't just say, okay, well, here's my idea. The idea has to be based on something. Same thing in the Beach and Park District. You have to listen to what other people are saying. I have to listen to what our constituents are saying. And then based on that, come up with policies and ideas that fit into what they're looking for and what we can do. I've spent some time as a real estate appraiser, and that gives me an idea of what the value of property is and how the Beach and Park District, how our properties enhance the value of residential and commercial properties in the city. The recreational facilities here are tops. And it's part of my job to keep it like that. So it makes it more desirable for businesses to move in, more desirable for families. That's how we grow. And if we don't grow, we die.
Steve, if you had control over the board's agenda for a year or so, say, what do you think would be absolutely essential to have on there?
Well, besides ice cream for everybody at every meeting, there are a couple of things. First, I would like to see the completion of the tower at Gumbo Limbo. I'd like to see the completion of the pipes and pumping station. It's been in the works for a while. It's out for bid now. There are a couple of pet projects that I have that I'd like to see started. I'd like to see an enclosure around tennis courts at Patch Reef. I'd like to see our second field house go to Patch Reef as part of the, in place of the community center. I think there's a need for it. We need pickleball courts. There's been a demand for pickleball. And while we have the striping indoors at Sugar Sand, I'd like to make that a part of a new field house. We need an indoor walking path, I think, is essential. Those are all things I'd like to see started, in addition to all the other things that we're doing. Gumbo Limbo has a master plan. I'd like to see that getting its first legs.
Yeah. Well, we wish you the best of luck with your campaign, Steve. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to add?
Well, just a couple of ideas as what I look for going forward. I'd like to see enclosed tennis courts. I don't know if you've ever seen the tennis court bubbles,
Mm,
but
right.
it rains, there's no tennis, and people get upset, and they call me. Why is it raining? So, what I would like to see is maybe have year-round, all-weather courts that can be played on in any weather,
Mhm.
and give our residents that much more of an opportunity. Um, we're talking about a second field house. I'd like to see it in place of the Rutherford Community Center over at Patch Reef. There are a lot of things that are on the table. And I have some ideas, as I mentioned to you. I'd like to be able to bring those ideas to fruition in my next term.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Like I said, is there any way that people can get in touch with you if they want to contribute or learn more information about you?
Sure. My website is Steve for Boca Beaches and Parks, and it's not an and, it's an N between beaches and parks. My Facebook page is He Works for You. For those people that would like information, you can contact me at steveinfla@gmail.com.
Okay. Well, we'll be watching the results of August 18th. And as I said, we wish you all the best. And thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Well, that's it for today, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And we hope you'll keep your questions and comments coming into bocafirst.org.